Well, thank you very much. My name is Brett McAllister. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions for the Halmos College of Arts and Sciences. With me, as always, is majority members of my staff. With me is Mr. Theodore Uwe, one of my assistant directors, who's there studies somewhere in there, and Miss Megan Troy as well. As we have a variety of faculty as well as academic advisors with us this evening. I will introduce them in a little more detail as we get going, but they are Miss Lee Shazier, who's one of our academic advisors, Dr. Cheryl Duckworth, who is with us, who is the Master's and Certificate Chair, Dr. Neil Katz, who is one of our committee members, and Dr. Judith McKay, who is our chairman for the PhD program. And you'll be hearing from them talk throughout this evening as well. Please do keep in mind, we do have a 10 to 15, maybe 20-minute section at the end for Q&A. So any questions that you do have, feel free to type in the chat and we will answer them at the end of this session. So for those of you that are here, once again, welcome. We are here for the Department of Conflict and Resolution Studies for the Graduate Open House. So I would like to read off the introduction from the Dean of the college, Dr. Holly Baumgardner. So welcome to NSU's Halmos College of Arts and Sciences and the Guy Harvey Oceanographic Research Center. The college is NSU's intellectual and cultural foundation, firmly anchoring the university in the liberal arts and sciences necessary for the 21st century workforce on into graduate school. We engage you in cutting-edge selection of majors and minors built on innovative models and relevant technologies. Dr. Baumgartner could not be with us this evening, but she is always very busy running around doing everything the college could possibly need, and we are very, very thankful to have her as our dean. We do also offer a variety of other programs outside of the conflict analysis, and some of those are Comprehensive Rhetoric and Digital Media Master of Arts, as well as a couple of their Master of Sciences in National Security, Biological Sciences, Marine Sciences, and Medicinal Chemistry, as well as a Master of Professional Science in Environmental Sciences. We do offer another doctoral philosophy with Oceanographic Marine Biology. But tonight, specifically, we are here to learn about conflict analysis, and that is the Master of Science in Conflict Analysis and Resolution, the Doctor of Philosophy in Conflict Analysis, as well as 4 unique graduate certificates: Advanced Conflict Resolution Practice, Peace Studies, Qualitative Research, and our brand new one that we will learn more about as well, that is starting next fall in Sustainable Development, that we are very excited to begin offering for our students coming fall of 2024. So keep an eye out for it. So the Department of Resolution Studies, our chair members that are with us this evening. Unfortunately, Dr. Mvingi is not able to be with us this evening. But we do have with us, as I mentioned before, Dr. McKay and Dr. Duckworth, as well as Dr. Katz. I know you are not filling in for Ishmael this evening, but you'll have to do the best you can, and I do appreciate you being here as well. So, but for introducing Dr. Mvingi as well, like I said, he is our interim chair at the moment. He received his PhD in conflict analysis from George Mason University. He was awarded the Goodwill Ambassador Award by the South Bend Homo Center in 2000, published on social movement, legislative advocacy, and extractive industries in Africa, transnational justice, Zimbabwean politics, and scholarship of engagement. He's investigated war atrocities against unarmed civilians in war zones, and in a team negotiated the amelioration of civilian targeted violence with the warring factions during the Zimbabwean Liberation War. He has also created and developed new courses on advanced transitional justice and advanced restorative justice at Nova Southeastern University. So he is very adept in what we are talking about with this program. So I'll also introduce Dr. Judith McKay before I let her take over. So she focuses on conflict and crisis communication, healthcare and leadership, strategic community planning, family conflict and violence, law enforcement collaboration, and public policy. Also mentoring and teaching highlight of the mediation and the MS capstone. So Dr. McKay, with that, I will turn it over to you. Let me know if we need anything else.
Okay, thank you very much. I am Dr. McKay. I've been faculty in the department for over 25 years. And I currently, and for the last few years, have directed our PhD program. I am very excited to have you here and to have the opportunity to meet with you and talk with you. You can see some of the things I work in. I'm very involved in the community. In my first life, I was a high school teacher and guidance counselor. I then counseled myself into law school. I went to Emory and I was a trial attorney for a number of years and saw the need for people being able to help participate in solving some of their own problems. And so I did mediation, facilitation, all sorts of things. And came to academia as a pracademic. Somebody was a foot in practice and a foot in the academic domain. And I do a lot of work out in the community. I just completed a grant that we received from Florida Humanities with I'm a co-director of the NSU Council for Dialogue and Democracy, and my fellow co-director is Dr. Zeldin from the Department of Humanities and Politics, and we had a very exciting grant that we worked on that had to do with community dialogues and issues with local democracy, which means local government, basically. And I've had several grants from the U.S. Department of Justice working in the community, and I do a lot of work with law enforcement. I train law enforcement in crisis intervention, looking beyond, simply having a conflict, but actually being in crisis. I'm very interested in strategic community planning and working with communities. And I teach a number of courses, from teaching and training, the MS capstone, and a variety of other courses. So I'd like to mention now something about our PhD program, and you can actually see that picture there. That's one of the events that I ran at the library, the Alvin Sherman Library, and it was open to the public for us to look at different ways in which people can work together and understand each other. And this one was a story cafe where we presented a topic. People came, sat around tables. We had facilitated dialogues. It was very interesting and really a lot of fun. So we were very happy, with that. And so I think we can go to the next slide. And so just to talk really briefly about a day in the life, we have both on campus and we have evening classes. Our evening classes are typically from 6 to 9 on campus, but we also offer distance education. And so people who live at a distance, or even people who live close and just can't always get to campus for all of their classes, they can sign up for an online class and they can basically take it in Zoom. And so we have those classes, which we're really happy with. We offer each year also a residential institute in the fall, which is an opportunity for all of our distance students to come on campus. In fact, we just had one recently. It ended the beginning of October, and it's really an exciting time. It's like a mini conference, and we're so delighted to see our distance students at that point. And of course, Nova Southeastern University has amazing facilities and resources. If you have never been to our campus and have the opportunity to come, I highly, highly advise you come, because I think you'll be extremely impressed. And of course, we do have flexible, formats, and our flexible formats are very helpful, because a lot of people end up, having to take some classes online, but some classes residentially. We have lots of opportunities for research, for applications, for working with some of us in the community. We have a peer mentorship program where we have students who have been in the program for a while volunteering to mentor new students, help them get acclimated. And of course, we work very closely in the community with our variety of working groups and some of the work that we do. For example, I work in the community with Community Resolution Services, the Social Justice Roundtable, and also the NSU Council for Dialogue and Democracy. And here's an example of our courses for the PhD program. You can see that we have core classes. We also have a number of electives that students can opt into. And our core classes, as you can see, we have some of them, such as Foundations and Human Factors, which help introduce people to our program and to the field of conflict resolution, and with Human Factors to some of the practice in the field. And then, as you see, we have theories classes, we have research methods classes, we have practice courses, we have practicum internships, including internships that take place in other countries, other parts of the world. And of course, we have electives. And our electives are rather broad. You can decide that you're very interested in the community, you're very interested in global affairs, which right now, as you know, is particularly hot, and also looking at interpersonal and organizational types of conflicts. And then, of course, as a PhD student, when you think of a PhD program, think of a program in three parts. You have your courses, you have your qualifying exam, and that qualifies you to actually go into your dissertation. And so we divide up our program like that, as do most PhD programs. That's a very common way to look at it. We offer a 76 credit PhD. We have a preliminary review, which you typically go through in your second year, where you're assigned with a faculty and we're able to talk with you about your progress and what are the things that are working really well for you, and are there any challenges that perhaps we can help with. We do then have the qualifying exam, which is a 3-day written exam, which you take at home or any place you want. You can use whatever materials you want. Your only restriction is you can't use anybody else. So you have to do it completely on your own. And then, of course, you work on your dissertation with your dissertation chair and your other committee members. And so that's a very exciting time. It can be a challenging time for some students, but it's a very exciting time because you know what? You're conducting your own research, because a dissertation has to be an original contribution to the field. And so some of the topics that our students have come up with over the years have just been amazing. I've learned so much being on committees. Do you want to go next to the next one? Here are some working groups. I'm just going to mention them briefly. We have the African working group. We have the Latin American and Caribbean group. We have Peace and Conflict Resolution Ed. We have Conflict Resolution Community of Practice and the Social Justice Roundtable. The latter one I coordinate, and some of the others, such as looking at peace and conflict education. Dr. Duckworth is the coordinator of that one. She's an expert in peace education. And so that group always does a lot of really exciting things. And Dr. Duckworth has conducted very interesting research in peace education, which, as we can again tell just by turning on the TV or the computer, I cannot think of a time when peace education and conflict resolution in general have not been more necessary and more needed in our societies around the world. And here are some global practicums. And I will ask Dr. Duckworth if she would like to make a comment about this, because she's been involved in global practicum. So she will probably have something very interesting to say to you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, Judith. I appreciate it. So yes, we offer a number of different global practicum, depending on student interest and what particular faculty member is coordinating. In 2012 and 2013, which is more years ago than I care to count now, I led a couple of groups to Morocco, where we looked at notions of development and democracy and human rights. And in Morocco, citizen protests around things like labor and student rights, pensions, police brutality, human rights, all of those kinds of things. Many of these pictures that you see here are from Dr. Bastidas's work. She has taken students to Suriname. She regularly takes students to Ecuador. And one that we are launching, we were going to launch it this summer, except for a hurricane that came through. And so, unfortunately, the travel could not safely go forward. Dr. Schwabel, who was also not able to be here tonight, but I'll mention for her I believe it's winter 2024. I may have that wrong, but I think it's winter 2024. She is going to be taking a group of students to Dominica. So some really fascinating issues that these global courses, which are hybrids, most of them, help students deal with. So students meet with local leaders. They meet, as you can see here, with indigenous leaders in the case of places like Ecuador or Suriname. In my case, in Morocco, we met with human rights leaders, some of whom we had to meet with. Well, this is recorded. I'll be careful what I say. We had to meet with some of them very carefully because they're human rights leaders in a place that did not necessarily respect human rights, particularly women who were leading for human rights. So that because we wanted to understand the real story of what was going on. In the past, we have gone, I believe this was before I joined NSU, but I believe there was a trip to Israel, although I may be misremembering that. And so a variety of choices. We don't run each of these every year, but it's a very exciting real world way for students to engage and apply theory and practice and skills. And as you can see, have a lot of fun and build community and make a real contribution to these communities that we partner with. We're very proud of the fact that we do view them as partners, right? This is not a one and done. Dr. Bastidas is, who is from Ecuador originally, goes back on a regular basis, right? She knows these communities, they know her, just for one example. So we are partnering in a way that addresses those student needs, right, to apply skills, to apply theory, to analyze what's really going on in a real world conflict, and generate models and solutions to address it, but also to really be of service. Because at the end of the day, as Dr. McKay said, it is a world in need out there. And these structural roots of conflict, we have got to transform them. We've got to transform them, or we are only going to continue to see, I'm sorry to say, more violence. And so if you want to be a part of that team, you have come to the right place.
Okay, and you can see the power of conflict resolution, as Dr. Duckworth was just saying. It really helps to bridge social divides. We are here because we are committed to conflict transformation. We would like to transform conflict into something that's really positive, and we are very devoted to engaging ourselves in the types of dialogues and the type of work in communities in which we join with the community and we work side by side with them. And we look to have dialogues, we look to build trust, because we know trust building is so important in doing the type of work that we do. We study things like negotiation, because negotiation is very much a part of what we do. We want to build strong communities, not only in the United States, but across the globe. And we support environmental sustainability. We want sustainability, and that's why we are so committed to sustainable development and conflict transformation. We do want to prevent violence, and if violence has already taken hold, we would like to intervene in it and look at other peaceful solutions, and of course, promote peace efforts around the globe. Again, all you've got to do is turn on your TV or turn on your computer, and you're going to see what is happening around the globe on a daily basis. Next slide. And so, Dr. Duckworth, take it away.
Thank you. So now I'll have a little bit of an opportunity. I've introduced you two, along with Dr. McKay, some of what the field of conflict resolution is, why it has formed in such an interdisciplinary and engaged and practical way. So we'll back up, and here's just a little bit about me. I'm very passionate. I like to say I'm an evangelist for peace education. I see its limitations. Any tool has limitations, right? A hammer is not a screw. But I'm very passionate about it, and I love to work with young people in school systems so that they can be the best that they can be. I think that's how cultures change. I look also at the economic roots of conflict. As you can see here, I'll talk your ear off about peace economics. So let's just say that's a thing that we can talk about over coffee sometime. What kind of economies support peace, right? Where do we need to invest? What does that look like? Where do we need to disinvest? Looking at the causes of war and violence, the teaching of 9/11, as you can see, was a study that I remain very passionate about. I surveyed and interviewed a number of teachers across the country I guess I was conducting those interviews in around 2015. So a significant distance reasonably after 9/11, which of course was in 2001. I got very curious about, what are teachers actually doing in the classroom. We had a lot of tools and curriculum created telling them what they should be doing, but nobody'd really asked what they were doing. And so I sat down and asked, and then looked at what kind of narratives about 9/11 are students inheriting from this. What are they going to take away? And came away with some real concerns. I can talk your ear off about that too, if you'd like. Interfaith dialogues. I've supported Broward Schools, our local school system here in South Florida, one of them. We are located in Broward County, for those of you who may be far flung, which is right above Dade County, Miami. Students came away from these interfaith, intercultural dialogues, developing peace projects that they themselves designed and led for schools, which is an innovation that I was incredibly proud of. You don't see a lot of youth dialogue programs that then take that next step, but students really valued it. It was a pilot program that got a bit washed away. Unfortunately, we were able to finish before the pandemic hit, but we're still looking to develop it beyond a pilot program. So stay tuned and wish us luck. Human rights education, of course, and a teaching highlight I'll add that is not necessarily listed here. I tend to teach foundations, which is our intro course. I've also taught theories, gender and conflict, and I've created a series of education and school-based related courses that advance peace building and conflict resolution, right? So our peace education course, schools in conflict, or conflict resolution for the school and school system, I should give its exact name, which I revamped, and an exciting new course on education in conflict zones, right? Education in emergency conflict contexts. So that's a little bit about me. I'm sorry if I'm trying to keep this brief, and thank you, Brett, very much for your patience. Here's our master's program, which I'm very proud of. As you can see here, I won't talk too much. You can see a glance, and this is also all up in our website. If you'd like to check that out and peruse at your leisure, and reach out to us, you're very welcome to do so. We are 36 credits, typically 2 years, depending on what exact coursework a student takes when. Most importantly, I would like to direct everyone's attention to what I think is our very exciting focus on the scholarship of engagement, right? And the practice-based nature of many of these courses. We don't neglect theory at all, right? Because that's your foundation, right? You don't have any compass. You're out on the boat in the middle of the ocean with no compass and no map if you don't have theory, right? So we're going to give you that important foundation, but you're also going to have many opportunities to apply it and develop your own thinking, right? Your own ideas. In many cases, if you talk to our alumni, they'll tell you your own business, right? In fact, we've got a new elective that caters exactly to that. So you can see here foundations, communication dynamics, skills-based courses such as mediation, negotiation, program evaluation, research design, very practical kinds of classes that speak directly to what employers want. And our capstone course, which is especially exciting because that's where students bring all the threads together, theory, research, and practice, and design their own actual community-based, under the supervision of faculty, of course, their own community-based conflict resolution project. Right? How are you going to analyze this situation? How are you going to apply theory? What skills are going to be needed? How are you going to research it to know if you are meeting your goals? Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Just a quick word about some of our graduate certificates, because I know we'll want time for some Q&A as well. We've got 4 now. May soon have a 5th, hopefully, if My education focused certificate becomes, oh, that's okay. No worries. Don't worry, Theodore, at all. If that is approved later in 2024, but right now we'll focus on the exciting certificates that we do offer. And what's the value of a certificate, right? Well, maybe you're not quite ready for that commitment for a master's, right? Or a PhD, right? But you want to take some coursework. You want to see what the field is about. You want to develop a specific set of skills, right, that you can take out on the job market. That's a great value added for a certificate. So advanced conflict resolution practice, right, is 15 credits, meets the needs of individuals who seek more expertise in conflict resolution and they want to take that right back into the workplace, right? Because where does that not apply? Qualitative research is 18 credits for students who want to focus on developing their qualitative research skills, right? Which a lot of employers are looking for as we look beyond just quantitative data, right? Which obviously is very valuable, but it's only one half of the coin. Sustainable development, we're all very, very excited, incredibly excited about this important new program. One of the things, folks, driving so much conflict is pressure on resources, right? Whether it's land or water or wood or extractive industries, right? Taking minerals and diamonds and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So our program, our certificate in sustainable, full name, which we couldn't quite squeeze in here, the full name is Sustainable Development and Conflict Transformation, right? It's a really unique program. In fact, I was very pleased. I just had a couple of colleagues at some major universities that are leaders in the field tell me on the down low how jealous they were that we had developed this program because it's very attractive and very needed. It's very, very needed. Any community you look at, whether it's water right here, the Everglades in South Florida, or extractive industries throughout Latin America or Africa, we need to be thinking about resources, and we need the conflict resolution skills that this program can offer in order to address how resources are going to be used, right? Look at Israel and Palestine, right? You wouldn't notice it at first, right? Because there's so much focus on acts of violent terrorism, religion, culture, right? But there are resources, particularly land, underlying that, right? I won't talk your ear off, I promise. Peace studies, very proud of this certificate as well. It's important to study war and to understand why it happens. We also need to understand, we need to study peace, right? Where cultures have been peaceful, how did they do that? How did that happen? And how can that be grown in as many places as we can imagine? All right, thank you. So where can conflict resolution take us, right? These are just a few examples of careers, for example, in social service, education, healthcare, government, nonprofits, military, right? So what do people actually do, right? Advanced practitioners, right? Actually leading negotiations, serving as a mediator, right? Process facilitation or a process consultant, someone that an organization might bring in to say, how can we function better, right? Neil and Judith are both experts on that. Program evaluation, an organization administrator, right? Yeah, I like to say, and I mean it, that Lee, as our program manager, has developed an amazing amount of expertise in conflict resolution, right? Anybody who's running a program is going to deal with human dynamics, and that means conflict. Thank you.
So with that, as we've mentioned, I know Theodore is going to talk to you guys in just a moment about something that process, but I do want to introduce my team once again. So with me, I said, is Miss Megan Troy, who's there, Theodore Uwe, as well as my administrative coordinator, Andrew. So that line that you do see there at the bottom is our email that goes to our general email that all of my staff does see, and we'll be responding as quickly as we are able. The number that is at the bottom, that goes directly to Andrew. So if somebody from my staff is not available, you will get Andrew, which is the majority of the time, because we are obviously pretty busy running around doing everything we need to be doing. But please feel free to, call us or reach out to us through our email at any time, and we'll answer as best as we can. Teddy, you all set?
Yep, I'm good to go now. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. So now we're going to kind of go through some of the different program details on the application side of things, as well as some of the associated costs of attendance with the program. So any of the different certificate programs, as well as the master's program right now, for the 2023-2024 year, we're looking at a per credit of $830. Then for the PhD program, we're looking at $1,185. Now, for full-time graduate students, that typically means that you're taking at least 6 credits per semester, which is about 2 courses. You can go up to 9 credits in some cases. You usually want to talk with our academic coordinators and some of the faculty about that if you're looking to try and take an increased course load. There are going to be certain fees you're going to incur over your lifetime as a student. Obviously, to apply, you'll have like the $50 application fee that's associated when you go to initially apply. But once upon admitted, there's going to be a $100 seat deposit. That $100 is actually put directly towards your tuition. So you can think of it as just that small little down payment coming into the program. And that lets us know that you're confirmed for your intended entry term. Now, while you're an active student, you do have a student services fee, which amounts to about $600. So there's 3 academic terms in 1 year, which accounts for the $1,800 you're seeing quoted on screen here. So if you're below that full-time status, which is 6 credits or less, then you would be going to be taking a $300 student services fee. Keep in mind, though, you may not be able to apply for certain financial aid pieces, such as scholarships or paid positions, if you are at part-time status, though. Now, speaking of scholarships, we do have some opportunities for our students, but you first must be admitted into any of the programs before you can start any formal application. Just on screen are just going to be a few that would be more specific for any of you that are interested within conflict resolution studies programs. That'll be scholarships like the Art of Peace Endowment Fund or Florence Ross Scholarship, or some more general scholarships like our Wei Chin Endowment Scholarship. And there are assistantships available with some of our doctoral programs. Generally speaking, they do want to see the students in the program for at least a semester before they start giving any formal rows. They do want to get to know our students a little bit more, see where you're at with some of your coursework, and if you're then still interested, they can start a formal application at that time. All of this information is going to be listed online underneath our scholarships webpage. It's going to be kind of split into a couple of different areas, including our Halmos College specific scholarships, which would be, of course, the Conflict Resolution Studies department here, and then more general scholarships underneath the college itself, as well as the university. So, general timelines looking for our master's programs or any of the certificate programs for the upcoming winter term of 2024. That is going to be just around the corner here. So that's November 17th. Every single date you see here will fall on a Friday here. So that'll be at the end of the business week. So November 17th here for winter is coming up in just about a month. If any of you are still interested in applying during that time, please do reach out to our office if you have questions about the status of your application. Afterwards, for summer 2024, that's going to be later on in the year. That's going to be on April 12th. Again, remember, it will be on a Friday. And then for next fall, for any of our PhD applicants, you're going to be looking at July 19th as your application deadline. Of course, we would highly recommend you to get all of your documents in prior to that deadline, just because we do these more on a rolling basis. So the sooner you get your admissions documents in, the sooner we can get you reviewed. Now, specifically then, just as a reminder there, when we're looking at the PhD program, it's going to be just July. So for the PhD program, we're only enrolling for the fall term, which means if for any reason whatsoever that you're not going to be able to enroll for this coming fall term, you would have to defer to an entire next fall, which would be 1 academic year. So to talk about that application details and a little bit more specifics, what we're going to have for our PhD program application requirements. You guys are going to be submitting an NSU general application, and we're going to kind of break down what that looks like in just a little bit here, along with the $50 application fee. You're going to submit all of your previously attended institutional transcripts. So that is both your bachelor's and any master's coursework. We don't need any of your high school transcripts. If you have gone to multiple institutions, we do need to have all of that course broken down from each individual institution even if it is listed as prior credit from another transcript. So that's why we have to have that for our cumulative GPA requirements. On top of all that, there are going to be certain pieces you can actually upload within the portals themselves, and we'll take a peek at that. But that does include the admissions essay and the academic writing sample. On specifics with the academic writing sample, this will always be available on our webpage, but it's going to usually be anything in your past work as a student, whether it be maybe even a professional piece that have done through your program. It could be even prior thesis work if you want to give a sample for that. Any questions regarding that, feel free to come and send us an email. If you're unsure if it's something that we may be able to accept, we can obviously contact the faculty and they can give us a yes or no on that. Then you're going to submit 3 letters of recommendation. These should ideally come from academic sources such as past professors, but we are willing to accept professional letters as well. This could also include like academic advisors, program directors, or anyone in that related capacity. And ideally, then we're going to be looking for a master's program GPA of about a 3.5 to apply. There is flexibility if we can see relative experience within what you've been doing in your past, because we know that we have people coming from all walks of life, and that does extend, of course, within the letters of recommendation. We understand that people have been out in the professional field for quite some time. So again, if you have any concerns regarding that, feel free to contact our office. Now, looking at the master's program in conflict analysis and resolution, it's going to have a rather similar makeup. We're still going to have that same general NSU application along with all of your official transcripts. If any of you have attended transcripts outside of the US, please do contact us as soon as possible so that we can break down what that process is going to look like to have your non-US transcripts evaluated for US equivalency, as we use an association that accredits certain bodies that we are only able to accept reports from. Again, that's more specific to student basis, so we would rather you just reach out to our office. So you're still going to submit personal statement, academic writing sample, but you're only going to need to submit 2 letters of recommendation here. And then coming out of undergrad, we would ideally like to see our candidates with a 3.0 coming from their bachelor's degree. Now, for the MS program here, we are again going to be having application deadlines for 3 different terms here. So if you're interested in any other term outside of, say, like largely fall, we do have winter and summer availability. And this also extends a little bit into our conflict programs. Theirs is going to be a little bit different. So we're only going to have that general application again with all of your transcripts. You'll have the personal statement. We only need 1 letter of recommendation here. Still ideally looking for around that 3.0 for a GPA candidate. If you have any prior master's coursework, you still do have to submit that. So we require all different higher education transcript college credit. Now then, so that we can actually get a better look into what the application portal looks like, upon creating an account here with NSU, you're going to have your general account overview. This is going to populate all your programs of interest, as well as any of your general information like your phone number, email, address, and so forth. If you have any questions or are unsure if you can get access to certain areas of your account, we do have a helpline, both a contact phone number as well as an email. So we have our 1-800-541-6682 number, or we have help@nova.edu. The newer emails too we have with a larger IT services that helps with all of our students now is also called Shark IT Services at nova.edu. If at any point you want that information, we're happy to send that. So looking into the first part of the application is just going to be some of that general biographic information. So of course, date of birth, name, address, and so forth. One thing we always want to recommend when students are filling this out is that you do not use a school affiliated email. In many cases, we've had it where students have lost access to that student email, and we send important information regarding updates on your application, as well as a decision on your application. So we just want to make sure you'll always have access to that information that's necessary for your records. Otherwise, also just want to make sure, of course, good contact information. We do keep phone numbers on file and may contact you as necessary if we need clarification on your application for any reason. Now, the program information, we just want to make sure that you're choosing the correct program as well as your intended entry term. We do have the ability to edit entry terms during the first part of the application, but after you formally submit it, it does confirm it for that entry term. So we'll have to do a little bit more work to get that updated if necessary. So you just want to make sure you're choosing the correct entry term. If for any reason, if you submit a formal application with us and you pay that $50 fee, and you figure out that, say, winter 24 is not going to be the best time to start, you still are able to keep that application valid for the next academic year, meaning that you can defer that application to a further term. So you could defer it, say, all the way to winter of 2025 instead. So prior college information, as we were just kind of discussing a little bit, you're going to submit most of your college info under here. If in any event where, say, your prior institution does not show up on the population for certain organizations, you can always just put an unlisted one and then type it in. If it's going to be a non-US institution, then we are going to have them work through what's called the National Association of Credential Evaluation Services, or NACES for short. You're going to want what's commonly referred to as a comprehensive evaluation, although each of the approved NACES organizations do kind of word their services differently, so make sure to just read through that if you're going to have to get an evaluation done. That's going to include a course-by-course analysis. It's going to have the U.S. grade equivalent along with that. Must state a cumulative GPA and must state if and when a degree was conferred from that institution. Now, most of the time, transcripts can be sent electronically, but keep in mind that these transcripts must be sent from your institutions themselves over to us here at the university. We cannot accept copies of the transcripts directly from you as a student for verification and authentication purposes. Now, for any of you that are looking to send that electronically, it's going to be sent to electronictranscript@nova.edu. Most of the time, your transcript request can be handled by your office of the registrar or whichever office from your institution handles your transcripts. So the other part of that is, if necessary, if they are not able to send it via email, we do also accept it via normal mailing, but we can sell the mailing address for our university as well. That does typically take a little bit longer. Usually electronic transcripts, I would say, are about 3 to 5 business days for processing time before they show up in our system and we're able to mark them complete. For mailing transcripts, that can take a little bit longer depending on where the institution is located, but on average, I would say more like 1 to 2 weeks. Now, the supplemental items page, for you guys, when you start this application, it may be dubbed either your supplemental items and documents or your admissions documents. Either way, this is going to be the accompanying documents outside of the general application that you'll submit. So this is going to be things like that personal statement, your letters of recommendation, any resume, and other items. Some of these you're going to have the ability to upload, such as what you see on screen here with the personal statement. That's going to be a file that you upload yourself. I do ideally recommend that these be Word documents or PDFs. For the most part, if it's any other type of document, sometimes we have issues with them uploading with the system. If for any reason you're having troubles with that, you can always send a copy of those documents directly to us, and then we'll upload those up to your application. Letters of recommendation, though, are going to be handled a little bit differently. So what you'll first have to keep in mind, you must first submit the general application in order to then send out recommendation requests. And what you see on screen is going to be an example once you get over here, but where you see the recommendation request section, there's going to be fields that populate for those requests. You're going to submit the email of your intended reference, and then they will get a generated auto email form that they'll have to complete and then submit with a formal letter back to us. Same way, though, as well as when you're uploading those letters, please be sure to let your professors know, and any reference, I should say. Ideally, again, that's going to be Word documents or PDFs, and then it must be written on any applicable organization letterhead. So if that's a prior institution, it must be on their institutional letterhead. And if they work for some company that has more relative experience from the professional source, we do like to have that on there as well. And we're all over social media. So as Brett said at the beginning of this, we're recording this whole thing. We're on YouTube. You can search us up. We're NSU Halmos College. More commonly, if you're looking at us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those larger feeds, we're more commonly NSU HCast. So we like to put on little blasts all throughout the year when we're having special events. We do virtual lecture series with our faculty from the Conflict Resolution Department all throughout the year, as well as with its students. So definitely check us out. We've had some very interesting topics in the past, and be sure to follow us. And then I think we're going to go ahead and open it up for questions.
While we're waiting for questions, one comment that I would like to add about recommendations is please have your recommendations be professional recommendations and academic recommendations. Please avoid having recommendations from family, friends, and buddies of yours, because they are really not, frankly, very helpful for our admissions committees to look at. So that's just a little plug, and especially for the PhD program, we do expect out of your 3 recommendations a minimum of 1 as an academic recommendation, if not 2 of them, or all 3 of them, but just to let you know.
Yes, and that is a very good point, Dr. McKay. I know we have run into that before as well as from students that are, back again students, as I like to call them a lot of the time. We have students that are a lot of professionals that have been working in their chosen field coming back for these type of degrees. So please do take the time between now and getting the application for the PhD to reach back out to previous faculty members. I'm sure they would love to hear from you, hear about what you're doing, your experiences, and take time to reconnect so that you can get that good academic reference to help our selection committee out from that standpoint. It is a problem that we know students understand, that they do go through, and we will answer them to the best of our ability with that as well.
Dr. McKay, I want to make sure that you saw the two questions that were either in chat or the Q&A. One was about any courses specific on the legal aspects of mediation. And another question I want to make sure that you answered was about transfer credit. Were you able to see those?
No, I actually didn't, but thank you for pointing that out. Transfer credits are done on an individual basis. And so we actually have a form that students would fill out requesting transfer of credit. They would have to list the specific courses from their prior program and would have to then list the specific courses from our program that they believe might be equivalent. And they're going to have to include, the syllabus from the prior class, things of that nature, so that our curriculum committee, when they review that, they're able to look at, what could be an equivalency or not. And so the more information you give us, the better that is. And so transfer of credit is something that we have to handle individually, and you should be submitting it in your first semester of the program. And, so that we can get that squared away, know exactly what credits we're going to transfer in and what credits we're not going to transfer in. And also, we do not process transfer of credits prior to starting our program. So don't send us emails now saying, oh, here's the credit that I would like to have, because the answer is we don't honestly have the time to go through all of that when you're not even yet our student. And so once you become our student, then we're happy to do that. But prior to that, sorry, we're really not able to do that. And Dr. Katz, you mentioned something else. I wanted to make sure I covered everything.
It was something in chat or the Q&A about a specific research proposal. Let me see if it's still there.
Yes. So I did respond to them, Dr. Kessler, to give you a heads up. And that type of question is going to be, I think, a longer conversation with Dr. McKay specifically.
Sure.
So I made sure I did copy that big question down, and I'm actually going to be sending an email to Dr. McKay with that, just because I want to make sure they can, get connected and have a little bit deeper conversation about that.
Absolutely. And I'm very happy to schedule, an individual Zoom session with a student that has some very specific questions that really pertain to them and not really to everybody else who's here.
Sure.
And so I'm very happy to do that. So you can feel free to let Brett know or let Teddy know or email me directly. And I'll be very happy to, schedule something at our mutually convenient time so that we can actually go over that. I would also point out that we're very pleased to have Dr. Katz here, who's taking his valuable time to come in here. Dr. Katz is really a treasure. You ought to go to our faculty web pages and read about Dr. Katz. Dr. Katz has a specialty in organizational conflict, where, he has worked with a number of agencies and organizations, including of government, to look at some of the issues of conflict that are going on, because the reality is, as I like to say, where two or more are gathered, there shall be conflict. So the issue is not, will there be conflict, but rather the issue will be, there is going to be conflict. Simply, what is it going to be about? When is it going to happen? Who is it going to involve? And what are we going to do about it? And too frequently, we don't do enough in organizations about it, simply because people get nervous, people get scared, and they don't necessarily, know exactly how to handle it. And so Dr. Katz is a wizard when it comes to that. He has been doing it for so many decades. I would also point out that Dr. Katz has been honored for his work in the area of social justice, race relations, and areas like that. So he is overall a gem that we are delighted to have. And if you have a question, about that type of an area, you may want to either raise it now while he's here, or you may want to reach out to him at a later time. He's very friendly. He's not scary. You don't have to be worried about reaching out to him. But he is somebody who will really be able to set you straight. He also teaches classes and electives in this area. And a lot of it will give you some real world experience about conflict and organization. So we're very delighted, Dr. Katz, that you took your time this evening to be here with us.
Thank you.
And I did just put Dr. Katz's link to his faculty page in the chat as well, so anybody can see that and take a look at that. Because I couldn't agree more. Every time I work with Dr. Katz, it is always a pleasure.
Thank you. Let me add one thing on variety of classes. Dr. McKay mentioned our distance learning classes that are usually, again, in the evenings. Once in a while, they're also on the weekends, mostly Saturday or Sunday morning. But we also have what we call hybrid classes. For instance, I teach classes over 3 consecutive long 8-hour days. And then there's maybe a few Zoom classes afterwards. I know Dr. McKay has taught a wonderful class on conflict coaching, and she's done that over 2 weekends. So anyway, a variety of times and a variety of modalities for teaching classes.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I think you would enjoy about our department is our flexibility. Because we offer a lot of flexibility, and we also are very attentive to our students. If you come into our program, I can tell you, having been with the program for many years, that it's a program in which we are very engaged with you. We're very happy to work with you. We're interested in your research projects. And for those of us who do a lot of community work, we're interested also in working with you out in the community, whether it's a local community or through a global practicum and international community. And so we're very excited about that. And we do follow the Scholarship of Engagement, which Dr. Duckworth co-edited an exciting book about. And what the Scholarship of Engagement basically says is we're not, as academics, just going out into the community to do to the community, to research the community because it's something that excites us. It's something that interests us, but rather we join with the community. And we are eager to do research and to do, practical projects that are needed and wanted by the community, so that we kind of join together with them, each bringing our own expertise, because we may have an expertise in the process and in certain types of conflicts and things like that, but we're not necessarily the experts on individuals or various community groups. And so we need them to be the experts in those areas. We'll be the experts in our areas, and we will come together and we will work on projects together. And so that's very, very exciting. And that's something that our department feels very strongly about, is that notion of working with the community and not just doing something to the community because we think it's exciting. Because we think lots of things are exciting, but if a community group doesn't think it is, well, then what's the point? And so we are very excited about that. And when we say community, it also includes the global community, because we do have students that study with us from other countries.
Absolutely. Very well said, all of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I do want to make sure that I'm being cognizant of your guys' time. I know you're all very busy faculty members as well. So if there are any, last second questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. But also, please keep in mind, I did post my email for our graduate admissions team, and I'm happy to forward on any questions you may have at a later time to our obviously our awesome faculty who are willing to speak with you on a variety of topics.
And thank you so much for spending this time with us, everybody. We really appreciate it. We know that you're very busy, and like the airlines say, we know you had a choice, and we appreciate you flying with us.
Okay,
Thank
you all.
Thank you.
Take
Have a
care,
lovely
everybody.
evening, everybody.
Hope you have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We will send this follow-up. It is recorded. And any further questions, reach out to us at any time. We're always happy to help. Hope you have a great night. Take care.